Hey everyone, Coach Tony back on the water. Another beautiful fall day, bright sunny skies, hardly any wind. Different body of water today, and I've already caught my first fish of the day, so I like my chances of actually catching one on camera here today in this little back cove in the shade. It is kind of middle of the day, about 1 p.m. So sun's straight overhead, but found this shady little cove back here with the current running into it, so hopefully some big bass hanging out back here. So what I wanted to talk about today was a phrase that I commonly use, success leaves clues. If you've read any of our Mindset Mondays or any of our more kind of mental training material, you know that that's something that we talk about a lot, that, you know, whatever your goal is in training, in life, somebody has been there before you and they've kind of laid out a blueprint of how to do it. So all you got to do is just kind of find that person and replicate certain aspects of what they did. But I do think that a lot of times people confuse what success leaves clues actually means and treat it more as like an appeal to authority, which is a common kind of lousy way to argue. For example, it's like, okay, this lifter is the strongest person in the world and they did XYZ, which means it's going to work for me as well. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. A lot of times, the best in the world are outliers, and what works for them will probably actually work for a very few number of quote unquote regular people because they are the outliers. They're the best in the world for a reason. And a lot of times, not to undermine the hard work and the effort and the time that it takes to become the best in the world, but a lot of times those lifters would succeed doing probably just about anything. So you have to be a little bit careful about replicating the methods of the best in the world and, you know, the outliers, so to speak, because that's not necessarily following success leaves clues. That's more just like that appeal to authority. Okay, it worked for them, so it'll work for me. But there are going to be aspects of what those best in the world lifters do that you can apply to your own situation. You just have to think very critically about it. And you might say, okay, when they were at my level of experience, you know, when they were my age, when they were had the same number of years under the bar as what I do, what were they doing? Not necessarily what are they doing right now as the best in the world, because again, they're those outliers. So you have to think about what got them there versus what they're doing currently. Sorry, it's a little hard for me to focus with this new body of water I'm on. I don't know it quite as well as the one that I've been on the past couple of weeks, where that one I could fish it with my eyes closed. I still didn't catch any fish the last couple of times that we chatted. So ask yourself, the best in the world, what are they doing that I can emulate in my own training? Maybe it's a programming style. Maybe they do something with sets and reps in the loading protocol that you can apply to your own training. Maybe it's a technique thing. Maybe I think one of the most valuable things that we can do as lifters when looking for people to emulate ourselves after is find lifters with similar body types to ours, similar leverages, because that's probably where you're going to garner the most information. You know, if you are somebody like me who's got short arms, short legs, long torso, kind of this squat and bench specialist, where maybe you don't have the best leverages in the world to deadlift, it would be a fool's errand to try to replicate the deadlift style of somebody who's absolutely built to deadlift, somebody who's got really, really long arms, just you know, an absolute silverback gorilla of a deadlifter. And a lot of times the best deadlifters in the world, that's what they look like, right? And maybe they don't have the leverages to squat and bench, but they have those deadlift leverages. That would be silly for me to try to emulate after that. Look for somebody with similar leverages to you. Okay, here's somebody who kind of looks like a T-Rex, so to speak, but they found a way to kind of crack their deadlift code. What did they do? What can I apply as far as their technique, as far as their training program? And I do think you don't want to make excuses. You don't want to say like, well, I'll never be like that person. You have to keep in mind your training age, how long you've been training. You got to keep in mind what your outside the gym duties are. You know, when you compare to the best in the world, oftentimes the best in the world maybe don't have the same work responsibilities or family responsibilities that you might have if you're kind of a typical, 9-to-5 job. Maybe you've got kids, maybe you've got a family at home you've got to take care of. You can't hold yourself to the same standard as somebody who doesn't have those outside the gym responsibilities. You also have to consider what kind of advantages they might have from a performance enhancing drug perspective. The truth of it is that in strength sports, PEDs are rampant, and most of the best in the world use them, even if they compete in drug tested scenarios. A lot of times they are using those drugs in such a way where they're cycling off of them when it comes testing time. So you have to be realistic in that sense. And I have absolutely nothing against the people who choose to do that. That's often what it takes to be the best in the world. But you simply cannot compare yourself to people who have chosen to give themselves that type of advantage. I also don't want you to have like the weak ass mindset of like anybody who's stronger than you or anybody who's doing really incredible things must be on drugs. That's not the case either. There are a lot of absolutely incredible lifetime drug-free lifters out there. Maybe look to them and see what they're doing, because the training really does change. It gives you such a dramatic advantage. I think you can talk to anybody who's been on PEDs for an extended period of time and accomplished some amazing things. They'll tell you like, absolutely, it makes a humongous difference. And that's why there are different federations for powerlifting to compete in. That's why they have natural bodybuilding and then untested bodybuilding, because it's really, really hard to compare the two. So don't get success leaves clues confused with an appeal to authority. Just because somebody who's really, really strong or really, really big did a certain training program, trains a certain way, eats a certain way, sleeps a certain way, whatever it is, the way they organize their life, you can't model it exactly, because no two people are the same, and usually the best in the world are outliers. So take their success, find the pieces, like Bruce Lee said, like find what's useful, make it your own, and discard what's not useful. Thought I had a bite there. I'm like wrapping up my talk and searching for more stuff to talk about, just on the off chance I might actually catch a fish on camera today. So just be careful how you interpret the whole success leaves clues kind of thing, all right? Because there's a lot of great examples to follow out there. You just have to, and I just saw a fish bite it right there. The water's crystal clear. God damn it. Anyways, a lot of great role models out there, a lot of great examples to follow. Just make sure you take it all in context so you can apply it to your own situation.